In Christopher Nolan's 2014 film Interstellar, the problem of the teachers refers to a broader societal issue in the movie's dystopian near-future setting, where Earth is ravaged by environmental collapse. Blight, dust storms, and failing crops have forced humanity into a survivalist mode centered on agriculture. Education has been co-opted to reinforce this mindset, promoting a revisionist history that downplays or denies past scientific and exploratory achievements to discourage dreams of space travel or innovation. Teachers, as representatives of this system, indoctrinate students with propaganda that prioritizes farming over engineering, science, or aspiration, effectively stifling curiosity and progress. They teach that moon landing did not occur in reality as a fact. This is exemplified early in the film when Cooper's daughter, Murph, played by Mackenzie Foy as a child, gets into trouble at school for bringing an old textbook that affirms the Apollo moon landings as real. The teachers insist that corrected curricula teach the landings as faked American propaganda designed to bankrupt the Soviet Union by luring them into wasteful space spending, allowing America to refocus on practical needs like food production. This educational distortion reflects the film's theme of humanity's self-imposed limitations amid crisis, where fear of extinction has led to anti-intellectualism and a rejection of useless machines, like spaceships, as one teacher puts it. The parent-teacher meeting scene amplifies this problem, making it very problematical by highlighting personal and ideological clashes. Cooper, Matthew McConaughey, a former NASA pilot and engineer now reduced to farming, attends the conference after Murph's altercation. The teachers and principal, played by Colette Wolfe and David Oyelowo, not only defend the revised history but also inform Cooper that his son Tom shows aptitude for farming rather than college-level pursuits, effectively capping his potential in line with societal needs. Cooper, frustrated and incredulous, pushes back aggressively, calling the fake moon landing narrative bullshit, and arguing that humanity needs dreamers and explorers, not just more farmers. His stubbornness escalates the situation, leading to Murph's suspension and underscoring his own detachment as a parent. This confrontation is problematical on multiple levels. It exposes the tension between individual ambition and collective survivalism, illustrates how institutions like schools enforce conformity during societal breakdown, and foreshadows the film's larger narrative about defying limits through science and love. It also personalizes the world's despair for Cooper, pushing him toward the NASA mission that drives the plot, while critiquing how education can become a tool for control rather than enlightenment. The parent-teacher conference in Interstellar, one of those Nolan scenes that packs a punch with its subtle, or not so subtle, commentary on society, education, and the erosion of ambition. It's a chilling portrayal of how institutions can rewrite history to serve a narrative of complacency and control, all under the guise of practicality and caretaking. In this early sequence, Cooper, Matthew McConaughey, meets with the principal and Ms. Hanley, the teacher, about his kids, Tom and Murph. The conversation starts with Tom's future but quickly shifts to Murph's troublemaking over an old textbook. Here's the key exchange pulled straight from the film's transcript. Miss Hanley and Cooper speaks. Murph is a great kid. She's really bright. But she's been having a little trouble lately. She brought this in to show the other students. The section on the lunar landings. Yeah, it's one of my old textbooks. She always loved the pictures. It's an old federal textbook. We've replaced them with the corrected versions. Corrected? Explaining how the Apollo missions were faked to bankrupt the Soviet Union. You don't believe we went to the moon? I believe it was a brilliant piece of propaganda. That the Soviets bankrupted themselves pouring resources into rockets and other useless machines. Useless machines. And if we don't want a repeat of the excess and wastefulness of the 20th century, then we need to teach our kids about this planet, not tales of leaving it. Let's comment now this scandalous conversation. Ms. Hanley delivers her speech with a straight face, fully bought into the revised history. Apollo is fake news designed to cripple the enemy economically. It's not just denial, it's active falsification of textbooks to prioritize earthbound survival over exploration. The teachers aren't villains twirling mustaches. They're well-meaning cogs in a system that's decided ambition is dangerous. Their good conscience makes it hateful because it normalizes the lie, brainwashing kids into accepting a diminished worldview where dreaming big is equated with waste. Cooper's pushback is the counterpoint. He calls out the hypocrisy with his wife's story, highlighting how this anti-progress mindset kills innovation and truth. The whole setup evokes Orwellian vibes, history rewritten by the state or what's left of it, to keep people grounded, literally and figuratively, amid environmental collapse. Nolan uses this to underscore the film's themes. Humanity's survival depends on reaching beyond, not hunkering down in denial. The teachers become unwitting murderers of truth, enforcing a regime of falsehood that stifles the very curiosity, embodied by Murph, that could save them. It's a masterful bit of world-building that sets up the stakes for Cooper's journey. In Interstellar, Murph's disobedience is a quiet but profound rebellion against the stifling anti-intellectualism of her society. As a young girl, she clings to an old textbook depicting the Apollo moon landings, sharing it with classmates despite the school's official narrative that these were fabricated propaganda. This act isn't just kid mischief, it's a refusal to swallow the rewritten history peddled by her teachers. In a world ravaged by blight and dust storms, the government, or what's left of it, has pivoted to a survivalist ethos. Focus on farming Earth, forget space. Books about space exploration are corrected to dismiss them as wasteful myths, channeling kids like Tom toward practical trades while squashing dreamers like Murph. Her reading and sharing these forbidden texts symbolize a spark of independent curiosity amid enforced conformity. It's disobedient because it challenges the state's control over knowledge. Murph isn't buying the lie that humanity's future is solely terrestrial. This sets her apart, earning her punishment, suspension, but it also foreshadows her pivotal role in solving the gravity equation later and her strong link to her father Cooper. Nolan portrays this as heroic. In a society where thinking big is criminalized, reading about space is an act of intellectual insurgency, preserving truth against institutional erasure. The crushing of personal thinking, like in totalitarian states, appears clearly in this sequence. Totalitarian regimes or tendencies thrive by dismantling individual thought, replacing it with state-sanctioned dogma. This isn't just censorship, it's a systematic reprogramming where personal inquiry becomes treasonous. In George Orwell's 1984, 1949, the party's Ministry of Truth exemplifies this crush. Winston Smith's job is to falsify records, ensuring history aligns with Big Brother's ever-shifting narrative. Personal thinking is obliterated through newspeak, a language designed to limit concepts like freedom, constant surveillance via telescreens, and thought police who punish thought crime, even unspoken doubts. The regime doesn't just ban books, it vaporizes ideas and bodies. Orwell shows how this leads to doublethink, holding contradictory beliefs simultaneously like, war is peace. Individuals like Winston try to reclaim autonomy through secret diaries or forbidden love, but the system breaks them via torture in Room 101, forcing conformity. It's a blueprint for how totalitarianism invades the mind, making independent reasoning impossible without isolation or madness. Boualemsansal's 2084, The End of the World, 2015, updates this for a theocratic dystopia inspired by radical Islamism. In Abystan, a vast empire ruled by the god Yola and his delegate Abi, personal thinking is annihilated under just submission. Books are non-existent except the Kabul, a holy text, and education indoctrinates absolute obedience. Protagonist Adi's subtle disobedience, questioning the regime's lies about a border, mirrors Murph's book sharing. Sansal draws explicit parallels to Orwell, showing how religious totalitarianism crushes curiosity through rituals, surveillance by the apparatus, and public executions for doubt. Memory is controlled, history is mythologized to glorify the regime. Personal thought survives only in hidden free zones, but even there it's fragile. Sansal argues this isn't just political, it's existential, turning humans into automata devoid of self. In Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451, 1953, firemen burn books to prevent the dangerous ideas they contain, enforcing a hedonistic, screen-obsessed society where personal reflection is seen as antisocial. Guy Montag's disobedience starts with reading a smuggled book, awakening him to the void of enforced ignorance. Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, 1932, takes a softer approach. No overt violence but conditioning from birth crushes individuality through soma, a drug, caste systems and pleasure overload. Thinking deeply is unnecessary in a world of instant gratification. Disobedience, like Bernard Marx's unease, is medicated away. In Philip K. Dick's The Man in the High Castle, 1962, under Nazi and Japanese rule, personal thought is suppressed via propaganda and fear, with forbidden texts, like the I Ching or alternate histories, becoming acts of resistance. Across these, the pattern is clear. Totalitarian states weaponize education, media, and culture to standardize minds. Disobedience often begins with illegal reading, accessing unapproved knowledge, which exposes the regime's fragility. But the crush is total. It isolates thinkers, rewrites reality, and normalizes self-censorship, leaving societies intellectually barren. Teachers in these narratives embody the tension between personal integrity and institutional pressure, frequently defaulting to obedience, due to lack of courage or personal decision and self-preservation instincts. In Interstellar, Ms. Hanley isn't evil, she's complacent, parroting the corrected curriculum with conviction because it's her job. She lacks the guts to question why space history is being buried, prioritizing stability over truth. This makes her complicit in brainwashing. Orwell nails this in 1984. Educators, implied in the party's youth indoctrination, teach newspeak and revised history without flinching, becoming extensions of the state. They obey because defiance means re-education or death. Courage is rare, as seen in how even sympathizers vanish. In 2084 by boualemsansal, educators are clerics enforcing Kabul memorization, their good conscience rooted in faith, not malice. Boualemsansal critiques this as moral cowardice, blindly serving power. Historically and literarily, teachers often fold under regimes. In Nazi Germany, many incorporated Aryan ideology into lessons. In Soviet schools, Stalinist propaganda was rote. Works like Marcus Zusak's The Book Thief show teachers enforcing Hitler Youth conformity, lacking the bravery to resist. Institutions provide security, jobs, status, community, while dissent risks everything. Personal courage requires seeing beyond self-interest, a rarity and a difficulty when survival depends on compliance. These stories between Earth and space warn that educators, meant to foster critical thinking, can also become its executioners when they prioritize obedience over ethics. In Interstellar, teachers teach the children that the Apollo moon landings were fake, a fabricated piece of American propaganda designed to bankrupt the Soviet Union during the Cold War by tricking them into wasting money on useless rockets. They even call the old textbooks, which contain the real history, propaganda from the past, and punish Murph for bringing one to school. Teachers make a deliberate lie, a rewriting of history, and a form of intellectual violence against future generations. But did they have any other choice? In the world of the film, the situation is catastrophic. The blight is destroying every major crop one after another. Mass starvation is coming fast. Dust storms are constant, oxygen levels are dropping, humanity is on the brink of extinction within 1 or 2 generations. Society has collapsed into survival mode. The only jobs that matter right now are farmers who can grow what little food is still possible. Funding science, space exploration, or advanced education is seen as a luxury the species can no longer afford. It would divert people and resources away from immediate food production. The government and society as a whole has therefore made a brutal, utilitarian decision. They lie to the population and especially to children. They kill the dream of space travel and scientific ambition. They channel every capable young person into farming. They hide the fact that a small remnant of NASA still exists and is secretly working on a last-ditch plan to save humanity. The teachers aren't cartoon villains enjoying the lie. They are ordinary people repeating the official curriculum because it's the law, the mandated education program. They likely believe or have convinced themselves that this is necessary for short-term survival. Refusing to teach the lie could cost them their job, their family's food rations, or worse. In a dying world, dissent is dangerous. Like many people in real authoritarian or crisis regimes, they obey out of fear, conformity, self-preservation, or a twisted sense of the greater good. So, was the lie justified? What should we think? The film deliberately refuses to give a simple yes or no answer. Instead, it forces us to wrestle with the moral tension. There is a pragmatic side to consider. Immediate survival trumps everything else. If everyone keeps dreaming of stars while crops fail, everyone starves faster. Lying might buy a few more years and generations of human life on Earth. On the other side, sacrificing truth and curiosity is itself a form of extinction, the death of what makes humanity worth saving. The lie smothers the very qualities, imagination, courage, scientific drive, that could actually solve the problem. In the story, it is precisely the people who reject the propaganda, Cooper, Murph, Professor Brand secretly, Dr. Brand, Romilly, who find the way forward. Humanity only survives because a few refuse to accept the stay on Earth and farm narrative. Nolan's message is clear by the end. Even in the face of near-certain extinction, choosing truth, hope, and the pursuit of something greater is what ultimately saves the species, not short-term pragmatism, lies, or forced conformity. The teachers in the movie represent a tragic, cowardly surrender to despair. They aren't evil in the classic sense, but they are complicit in killing humanity's soul to, maybe, prolong its body for a little while longer. The film says, no, that trade-off is not worth it. Truth and aspiration matter, even when everything looks hopeless. That's why Cooper's quote, "We're not meant to save the world. We're meant to leave it," hits so hard. The only real hope lies in refusing to accept the realistic propaganda of decline.